Hey guys, how's it going? Kripp here. So today we have a new Diablo 4 season. Now I went over a lot of the macro stuff on what's happening with the season and the kind of conflict with the Path of Exile 2 launch for this season. Well, if you want to make sure you see all the details, you can check out the other Diablo 4 video. I will cover a few things again. Basically, they're launching the Diablo season delayed a few days, but that means it's launching within like 24 hours of the new Path of Exile season. But I did actually do a lot of the work in setting up these Diablo builds beforehand because I did put in quite a few hours in the PTR. They changed up a lot of systems. A really big one that is relevant to today's video is that they're changing defenses and how they work. Rather than having like a cap on armor and a cap on resistances, there's no cap. It just keeps going up and up, and you basically have diminishing returns, but still get like damage reduction from stacking both infinitely. Which is pretty much how it works in Diablo 3 with like the toughness stat. This favors Necromancers because in this type of scenario, instead of hyper stacking one thing, you kind of want to put your effort into all the things. But if you're playing like Barbarian, you can't really put effort into resists. You're pretty much just stacking armor, right? So Necromancer is kind of the unique class in Diablo 4 that is able to have means to scale both resists also through intelligence, the primary stat, and armor, largely through the Paragon tree. But having both those options is really big. Blizzard typically does like balance pass on damage. If the monsters do a lot more damage than they did in the PTR, which is entirely possible this season, Necro is just going to be one of the most comfortable classes to play because you have options for defenses. Now defenses also changed with Fortify. Fortify acts as a recovery mechanic, and Necromancers have one of the best access to that also. So you have excellent one-shot protection, excellent recovery, and great options to bump up your defenses if you need to. Now on a damage front, Necromancer is below a few other classes, but still very high up. Necromancer will have many builds capable of clearing pit over 100. This has been mathed out by several of the big content creators, especially for Necromancer, MacroBioBoy. He always does kind of the numbers, and I pretty much trust this stuff. He's pretty good in the ballpark, I would say, and how things usually turn out. Now, the build I'm going to cover today is a minion build. It's the Golemmancer, but it's a different type of Golemmancer because in Season 11 we're getting a unique called Grave Bloom. Okay. Now, just to be clear, this is expected to be the best minion build in the game for Season 11. So if you want to play minions and you want to play the absolute best minion build, this is the one to play. However, it is only a few pit tiers higher than the Skeleton Archmage of the Hand of Naz. It's only a little bit better than that one, and this build will require you to spam the crap out of the Golem button. Okay, so just be very aware of that. This is a minion build, but it is not like a relaxing minion build where the minions just do all the work for you. This is like you're playing the game kind of normally, and if you want to play optimally, you're pretty much just using the golem button to do damage to the screen. It's kind of like a minion and non-minion hybrid. People that typically don't like playing minions would probably find this build very interesting, as a matter of fact, and people that want really chill experience playing the game, comfortable minions, this might not be for you. But I'll give you guys a little bit of notes. I did play this exact build on the PTR, and I am pretty happy with what I learned about it. So I want to give you guys a little bit of the details here. So first off, the Grave Bloom Mace. You raise 3 smaller golems that each deal 60% normal damage and have plus 30 attack speed. Your golems respawn 50% faster. Notably, it also has really good stats, and in general, the stats on your overall gear has been lowered for Season 11 in their itemization rework. So it is a disproportionately powerful item out of the box, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Even though it's a one-hander, and one-handers are typically far inferior to two-handers, especially for minion builds on Necromancer, but it's okay because it is good enough to use. You go from 1 golem that does 100% of normal damage effectively to 3 that do 60. So basically you go from 100 to 180. So it's an 80% damage multi on a one-hander, so it's like half of a two-hander aspect. And is that good enough? Yeah, it's about right. It's about right. There is a little bit of secret sauce here that really makes it pop off, and that is its interaction. Oh, actually, it didn't save properly here. I'll fix it here. But there is the aspect of Fell Gluttony, and the aspect of Fell Gluttony, actually, maybe I can edit here. So the aspect of Fell Gluttony is very important because your Golem active causes the Golem to erupt, and it does damage based on your main hand damage. It's kind of like similar to the amount of damage you deal from Ring of Mindel, but now because you have 3 Golems, this goes off 3 times, so it's taken advantage of that damage boost. Now, the other line is actually the most important one. So your Golem consumes corpses to reduce its remaining cooldown, and it deals extra damage. That part where it reduces its cooldown is very significant because that like corpse slurping from the Fell Gluttony, that only triggers once per second for 1 corpse. Okay? So this is very important here because it is otherwise without the Grave Bloom not going to work that well, because the Golem cooldown for both Blood and Bone, and they're both pretty good use for this build, is 16 seconds, and we're going to temper Golem active cooldown reduction on all of our jewelry slots to get it minus 75%, so it'll be a 4-second cooldown, right? Now, if you have a 4-second cooldown on this, and you have sufficient corpses with Fell Gluttony, and you will, don't worry about that, basically, in 4 seconds, 1 second will pass, and then in that 1 second, it's going to consume 1 Golem consumes 1 corpse, right? Okay, and then the second will pass, and then it'll consume another corpse. So basically, with Fell Gluttony and a single Golem with maximum cooldown reduction on the Golem ability, you basically press the Golem button 1 time every 2 seconds. Now, there's a little bit of leeway on that if you get like Decrepify procs, but it doesn't really proc that much Decrepify, so that part is not really that relevant. The main thing, the main secret sauce, why this build is as good as it is because when you have Grave Bloom with 3 Golems, each of those Golems is consuming a corpse every second and reducing the cooldown of the Golem cooldown by 1 second. And the Golem cooldown is not individual, it's shared among the 3 Golems. So that means that when you have like a 4-second Golem cooldown, 1 second passes, and that causes each of the 3 Golem to consume 1 corpse, minus 3 seconds, which means you can use the Golem cooldown every 1 second instead of every 2 seconds. Okay, so if you don't factor that in and you just run the numbers on Grave Bloom versus a 2-hander weapon, it's not that good. It's like kind of mid, right? It's like barely better because like sacrificial aspect is so strong with this build, all that. If you factor in the fact that you get 2 times the Golem buttons, that's why this is the best minion build, okay? But you have to play it that way. You have to get your tempers right. You have to be spamming that Golem button, and that can be a little bit tricky. If you want to play the build and get it off the ground really early, and you don't have like crazy cooldown reduction on your Golems, you can use the Bone Golems with the Golem Bone that causes 5 corpses. This is per Golem, so you get 15 corpses, and the Fell Gluttony just slurps all of those up, and you can Grave Bloom your brains out. Now, that will do a little bit less damage because the Bone Golem just does less damage than the Blood Golem. The Blood Golem does 50% more damage at high life, but it also heals itself with the cooldown because you don't have the Skeleton Priest, because you don't have the Summon Skeleton on your bar. If you run Bone Golems, they will eventually die because they are not ever being healed. You cannot heal them. So ultimately, you do want to be using the Blood Golem, and you do want to get, good enough lucky hit. You do want to get your cooldown down. And then if you get the whole thing online, it is one of the best Necromancer builds, one of the better builds for next season, as people are kind of estimating it still. Again, we don't really know 100% how the game is going to be, but that's kind of the estimates. And it will be by far the best minion build in terms of output. In terms of passives, there are a few changes, but the only really important one is Hellbent Commander. Hellbent Commander used to require that you had a minimum of 7 minions, I believe it was, and that restriction is gone. And also for Kalan's Edict, you no longer get minion damage per minion. You just get minion damage multiplier, minion attack speed. Easy peasy. So we just use that. We use Hellbent Commander, and because Hellbent Commander now works on golems, because the golems you sacrifice the other minions to take advantage of the Golem Paragon node, which gives golems a whole bunch more damage if you sacrifice the other minions, well, it allows you to now still run Hellbent Commander. So you want to change up your amulet, make sure it has Hellbent Commander. And before, because you couldn't activate Hellbent Commander on the Golem build, well, now you want to get Greater Affix Hellbent Commander on your Blood Moon breaches also. Now, they changed a number of things with itemization and stuff, but it doesn't really matter too much. And there is like the Divine Gifts, like new mechanic, but again, it doesn't really matter too much. These are pretty much set, and there's very little options here. Most of the new season is kind of focused on the rework on itemization, and you should be able to get the hang of that pretty quickly. And hopefully you guys take a little bit from this guide. Now, if you guys do want to check out this guide particularly, I will include a link to the Mobalytics page in the description below. And you guys can, if you want to kind of know how to play this build in the earlier parts, you should check out the Hand of Naz. That's the previous video I made earlier today, and that will show you the Hand of Naz build, which is kind of like the more general minion approach. It's basically the type of build that you'll be playing until you get some of the key items, probably near max level for this one. So, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next time.